Hello everyone, it's Nick from Claret and Booze. Hope you're all well. Another fantastic weekend of football coming up. We don't play till Sunday. As we know, we face off against Arsenal, something we can't wait for. I don't think there's a single fan in the fan base that is looking forward to this, that has got any hope whatsoever. And that's just not right. But look, before we get into the video, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And also, if if you like the video, even if you don't, it's going to be a miserable one. I'll pre-warn you now. It's not much to be happy about, is there? Let's face it. Please drop a like on the video because it does help us. Okay. Not been much in the way of content this week, so I do apologise, but I don't apologise because it would have just been more of the same from me. I'd have just been repeating myself, to be quite honest. I can't keep on talking over the same thing over and over again, even though I'm going to be touching on that today. But on a regular basis, it's getting very, very painful and very, very difficult to do because, like I say, I don't know what else there is to think about or talk about unless you're going to gaslight, unless you're going to come online and try and find, just positives for the sake of it. I don't know. I don't know. I personally don't feel like there is any hope at this moment for us. I don't. I'm still worried about relegation. I think we've got a very good chance of surviving now, but when you look at the way that we're playing and the way that we have been playing, yes, we're grinding out results. David Moyes is managing to grind out results that he needs when he needs them to keep his job, and they seem to be enough for him. But I don't think they're ever enough for West Ham. This is a trouble. I don't know that even getting rid of him now at this point is worthwhile. I just don't see what the point would be. The games are so compressed. Whoever comes in now at this point, they're going to have not really much time with the group. They're not going to have any time to sort of implement any kind of philosophy. It'd just be a babysitter, someone to come in and just, it's just, I don't know, someone to inspire them, I suppose. And yeah, I suppose if it gets bad enough and we're down to sort of 3 or 4 games and we need that, then yes, but then you're desperate then. You're desperate and you're hoping for a miracle, to be quite honest. A miracle that rarely happens at that stage, let's face it, because the squad will be rock bottom. The majority of them, we know there's discontent in that in the changing room. We know it. And the fact that it's just been allowed to play out for this length of time it's terrible, because a lot of the new players are going to want out the door. There's a lot of existing players that are going to want out the door as well. There was going to be players moving on anyway in the summer, but there's going to be this rebuild in the summer is going to be worse than last year's. Worse than last year's, because somebody's going to have to pick up the pieces, and the majority of these players are going to have been on the phone to their agents. They're going to have been sorting out potential moves for the summer. So are they going to be willing to lay their bodies on the line for somebody that's overlooked them, that's been shitting on them, that's been basically giving them a life of hell for the last year? I don't think they are. And we need that. When you're in a relegation battle, when you're in the latter stages of a competition, whatever level competition that is, whatever you want to call it. My hair's a bit fluffy. I've just got out of the shower. Look, I'm all wild. Then you need everyone on board, and you need everyone pulling in the same direction. We haven't got that. So this problem now runs so much deeper than David Moyes. We're going to have. I feel like it's going to be a mass exodus. I do think that David Moyes is going to be the first one to go. But beyond that, if you're a player in that setup, bearing in mind it's a short career, Scamacca, I don't think we'll see him back. The likes of Paqueta, I'm pretty certain that he's probably out there looking for a move. He's dropped out of the Brazil squad. Well, he hasn't dropped out, but his form has dropped off massively. He's turned into kind of half the player he was at international level before he came to West Ham. He's running a risk of being moised as well, which is what happens. As good as these players are, and we get comments, in the live chat and in comments after the game, and you see it online as well, where people say, oh, well, David Moyes ain't out on the pitch. He ain't responsible for them passing. He ain't responsible for them not being able to hit the target. I mean, give your head a wobble. Of course he's responsible for that. Of course he is. Every single player in the Premier League is of a very, very high standard. They are. So there's not much in it between most teams. But if you've got one team that are coached amazingly well versus one that aren't, then the team that are not coached very well are not going to know what they're doing. They're not, because they're going to get absolutely blitzed. You heard it from Flynn Downs after the Ghent game. He actually came out in a similar way to what Declan Rice did after Spurs, where he said, we're not getting forward enough. We don't really know what we're doing. We're not going to score this way. Flynn Downs has come out and said something similar. He said we don't know how to pass the ball. Once we've got it, we don't know what we're doing with it. I mean, that's a scathing statement to make, really. Another one that David Moyes probably won't like, but it's the obvious truth, and there is no excuse for it. There is no excuse for it now, and this discontent that David Moyes is having to fight, discontent that he's caused, he's making it worse all the time. So we was terrible against Newcastle. Then he just fucking dumped players, He dumped players, brought back the old guard, and then we scraped past Fulham, luckily. That wasn't a masterclass. That could have gone either way. We scraped past Fulham. We did. It was awful. The same as we scraped past Southampton. But what he's done with the changes that he made is he's pissed more players off, or he's damaged their confidence. You look at Aguirre against who's would normally be a very, very good player. He has been since he's been in. Playing against Ghent, he would have bossed it. But you saw his lack of confidence. His confidence has been damaged. Now, again, he was awful against Ghent. He was terrible. And these performances, they're not getting any better. And people are out there at the moment. They're saying, well, at the moment, at this stage, it's not the performance that matters. It's just a result. Yeah, you're right. But you're saying that as if this is a choice. You're saying that as if we are making a choice to be dogged and play this way to grind out points. It's like Man United all of a sudden trying to sort of they're fifth and they're trying to get to fourth and they've got to change their style and be ugly to get into fourth spot. We're not changing our style. This is just a case of we've got to continue doing what we've been doing all season, which hasn't worked, playing shit defensive football and hope that it works and hope that we can get enough results. Two very different things. Yes, the result is all that matters, but we're not making an actual collective choice to change our style to start being dogged now. We're just doing what we've been doing all year, which hasn't worked. And like I say, there is the games are coming thick and fast. I've got a feeling that we're going to get through against Ghent. I think we'll get past them, even though they were by far the better team in the first leg. We had no right to come away with that with any points at all in that, but we did. I think that we probably will get past them, but all that's going to do is make it even more difficult in the league because I don't think we're going to win that cup. We're not. We'll either stumble at the semi-final or we will definitely lose it in the final if we've still got David Moyes. I've got no illusions whatsoever. The minute we face a good team, David Moyes, and there's high stakes, David Moyes' arse will fall out. That's what he does. He's a coward. The man is a coward. He won't change, and therefore, and that rubs off on the players. It is because they're playing like they're scared as well. And it will do. If you've got someone constantly hammering into you, you're not good enough against this team. You've got to be careful. You've got to sit back. In the end, you're going to believe it. And that's how you're going to play. And that's how we're playing. We're playing with fear. We're playing with no direction. It's a completely rudderless ship. And it's not going to get better towards the end of the season. And we need it to. We're going to lose against Arsenal. There's never been anything more certain. We're going to lose against Arsenal. We're going to try and do what we did against Fulham, against Southampton. He won't even dare to go near the semi-press that he tried against Newcastle because Arsenal are twice the team. If we do that, we will get destroyed. So he's going to have to try and build a defensive roadblock and do damage limitation because it's very likely it could come down to goal difference at the end of the season. And a couple of heavy losses against Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, then we're going to be at the bottom of the pile when it comes to goal difference. So somehow and David Moyes will be thinking like that because he doesn't go out and he does not attack the game. He's a defensive snooker player. If he was a boxer, he'd have his guard up for the whole fight. Just not trying to avoid punches without throwing one. That is literally what he'll be in a defensive coma now. Well, we know he is. We saw that against Ghent. We saw it against Fulham, who he was playing. Who had no striker, and look how we set up. It's bizarre. It really is. And I'm worried. We're going to lose against Arsenal. Then we've got another must-win game, which it is against Bournemouth. Because if we don't beat Bournemouth, then we go away to Liverpool. And if we lose those 3 games, there's every chance, unless every team below us doesn't get any points at all between now and the end of those 3 games, we're sucked back in again and we're back in that bottom. We're back in and around that bottom 3. And then people look and they look on paper, they'll go, ooh, Leeds at home and Leicester away. Those are 2 very winnable games. they're 6-pointers, they're dogfights. Anyone can win those games. And if we're at the stage, like I was saying earlier on, where we've got players they've got one foot out the door, they want to go, they don't want to get injured because it will scupper their move in the summer. The discontent's growing, but you've got the likes of Leeds, who maybe are not as good a team as us, but they're fighting and they're all pulling in the same direction. We're not going to beat Leeds. We're not going to. We're not every single time that we need a win. We won't be able to grind it out every time. We're going to lose one or two of them. This season we've managed to sort of get points in all of them through luck, more luck than anything else. Right? It's not a masterclass to go and sit 9 players behind the ball and hope for some bit of luckery on the if that's a word, on the counter attack to get you a goal. It's been blatant luck that's seen us get through those games, and we're not going to keep on getting that luck in every game. It's just not going to happen. But how have we arrived at this point? I mean, obviously we know that David Moyes is done. We've done David Moyes to death. We know he's got to go, but why is he still here? Obviously it's David Sullivan. We know that. We know it's David Sullivan. He's the one that pulls the strings. He's the one that should be setting the philosophy for the club. He's the one that should be keeping a close eye on things and making changes when they need changing. He made a massive mistake in the summer, backing David Moyes to do something that he wasn't capable of doing, and that was seeing us transition into a progressive passing team. Massive mistake. But not rectifying that mistake was an even bigger one. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back on the fans. We had a call on our show on Thursday night after the Ghent game from Jonathan, who has always been a very patient fan, and he's always backed Moyes. But he did come on and he did say, look, I am Moyes out now. And in a very convoluted way, he basically said, it's on me. He said it's my fault, and it's on the fans as well, that we didn't see it and we didn't jump on board sooner. And you know something? I think it is. As a collective, as a fan base, we've been passive on the pitch. We've been passive in the leadership model. The board have been passive. They've just not done anything. They've sat on their hands. And we've been passive in the stands as well. We haven't made any fuss. I know there's a little bit now. There's a Moyes out banner. People have been starting to show a little bit of discontent. But it's starting to feel like it's too little too late. And yes, you can say it's because we're a loyal fan base. It's because we're tolerant. I don't think it is. We're not tolerant. We're not tolerant with each other. You've only got to look at the arguments that go on social media. We're not. It's about someone wants to be right and someone wants to be wrong. And that means more than the football now. I'm sure it does. Because at the end of the day, we could, before the World Cup, we could have started at that point, full force, singing every game, protesting against the board, against everyone else. We could have forced David Moyes out of that job. David Sullivan would have crumbled. He would have. He would not have tolerated it. He's a populist at the end of the day. Not so much with the fans, but with the media. He wants to be seen as a great chairman of a great club. And he likes to have the picture painted that he's, that everything's rosy. Even though we are where we are, he's still got well, it's not my fault. I'll back the manager with 200 million. The fans realise that. I think he's, and that's a narrative that you will get in the media. It's starting to change a little bit now, but whenever that does change, it changes, it's the ungrateful West Ham fans. Well, fuck that. We should have literally forced him. We should have embarrassed him into acting. And you can do that with Sullivan. You can. He won't want to be embarrassed in front of his new bit of fluff that he's got sitting next to him in the director's box. He won't want that. So it's down to us as well. We've kind of just sat on our hands and we've been arguing amongst ourselves and we've done nothing. Nothing as a fan base at all. So the fact that we're down here where we are, as a collective, the fan base is every bit as much to blame as Sullivan, as Moyes, as the players on the pitch. We've all played our part in this. We've all been shit this season. We've all been non-reactionary. At Upton Park, this would never have happened. It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have happened. Before that World Cup break at Upton Park, our voices would have been heard massively. But it is different now. I don't know whether it's because the dynamics changed within the stadium, because you've got new fans, you've got tourists, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I haven't got a clue. But all I know is West Ham on the pitch isn't the same anymore, and the West Ham fan base really isn't the same anymore either. And it's getting more and more difficult to follow and feel part of something special, because we're all just fighting all the time. We are. And I don't get the sentiment. I watched West Ham Fan TV last night, their post-match point. And Nicky said he hit the nail on the head. He said, look at what Leicester did with Ranieri after they won the title. You know, for far less, they sacked Ranieri because they're ambitious. They're ambitious, and that is a thing. Do you want to be loyal? Do you want to be sentimental? Jobs for the boys. Oh, you can't get rid of him now. It ain't fair. Look at what he done 18 months ago. The only reason we're still in Europe is because David Moyes got us there. So do you have to wait until we're literally fucked and relegated before you can say, yeah, now's the time to get rid of him because we're West Ham. We're loyal. Do you know what I mean? We don't change managers. Or do you want to be a successful club? Because when we made this transition and we didn't get behind stopping the move to the London Stadium, we all moved to the London Stadium because we thought it was going to move us somewhere. You know, I'll be honest with you, I bought into that as well. I didn't want to leave Upton Park, but at the same time, there was a side of me that thought, yeah, do you know what? Going to that big stadium, all the promises they've made, we'll be in the Champions League. We obviously, deep down, a lot of us crave a little bit of success. Okay? And I just don't know why we're tolerating this now. Why are we tolerating it? How can you be that sentimental? How can that be? No team will ever win anything. No business will ever be successful unless they're ruthless. They won't. When something runs its course, you change it and you move on to something else. This is ridiculous, the situation that we're in, and it's ridiculous that the fans have been accepting it, and that we've still got fans on social media now. I'm not saying we have in the stands that are saying we have to back him. We've got to be loyal. It's David Moyes. Look at what he's done for us. Fuck me. What do you want? Do you want West Ham to be successful, or what do you actually want? I don't get it. If it is just a blind loyalty thing, I don't know. It's very clear now. David Moyes got found out in the league 18 months ago. He's admitted so himself. He's admitted it. He's admitted just recently that all of these players that he's brought in, it hasn't worked. He reverted back to the old guard. So that's 200 million down the drain. It's madness. So why have we done this? How have we arrived at this point? And I do think we're all culpable. I do. You know, I point the finger at myself as well. Maybe I've been vocal, but maybe not vocal enough. Maybe I've gone into Michelle a little bit, maybe sometimes when I shouldn't have. I don't think I have, but there's been a lot of people that have just been accepting of this. And I know that some people sit on the fence, and I know that a lot of people don't like making noise. But if you believe in something and you love it, how could we get behind that move to the London Stadium, or at least not stand in the way of it? But then when things like this happen, just accept it, just swallow it. Because we're not the same old West Ham anymore. We're not. That West Ham died in 2016. We moved here on a promise of better things. And it has not happened. It hasn't happened. You know, it's fuck up after fuck up after fuck up. You know, Scamacca as well. Going back to David Moyes with Scamacca. He's having an operation now. We're not going to see him again until the end of the season. We're never going to see him again. They've been giving him these pain-killing injections, which is to basically sustain him and make him available for weeks and weeks and weeks. But you know what? Whilst David Moyes was having injections, steroid injections, pumped into his knee to sustain him, he weren't even fucking using him. So this is going back months now. He could have just had the operation. He would have been available for the running. That's what could have happened. Another mistake. More short-sightedness. He comes out and he says Danny Ings can't play up front on his own. He can't do it. You know, he is what he is. And then he goes and he plays him up front on his own, you know, against Fulham. Everything the man does is bizarre. You've got Thomas Souček in midfield, who's an ever-present in the important games. The guy who statistically, defensively and offensively, and everything you look at is getting progressively worse. All of them. Even if you just look at blocks and headers won, he's moving down the fucking ranks on every single stat, yet his position can't be questioned. He will be in that team against Arsenal. 100%. He will be. And everyone's just standing by and just watching this. Yeah, we have a little moan, but what do we do? From my perspective, what have I done? I've come on here and I've moaned. I ain't gone to the stadium. I haven't protested. I haven't tried to do that. I've threatened to do it once, but we haven't done it, have we? So I think we're all part of this fucking problem. We've allowed Sullivan to screw us over. That's what we've done. So yeah, we can moan, but we have to take responsibility ourselves. And you know what makes me a little bit worried is that this happens again with the same fucking fans as well. We'll have the same infighting. The next manager, I worry, is going to be of a very similar mould because Sullivan will likely be in charge again. next season, unless some miracle happens and he sells. So we're probably going to get David Moyes / Sam Allardyce Mark 3. That's what will happen. It will probably be good for about 6 months to a year. New face, a few new ideas until it fails. But then what we're going to have is the same argument and the hesitation that we've got in the boardroom, we'll have in the fan base as well. You've got to stick with him. Be loyal to your manager. Because we haven't got a reactionary board. I'm not saying it shouldn't even be on the fans, really, because most clubs, if you look at the likes of Chelsea, you know, when it ain't working, they act even before the fans even have a chance to breathe. They'll fucking change them. All right, they stuck with Potter a little bit longer than what they had before, but it's a different ownership model now, isn't it? But typically, it probably shouldn't be. You hope that the custodians of the club, the chairman, are going to act. They're going to do it, but they don't at this club. Therefore, it's our club, the club that we love. We can't trust the owners to know what the fuck they're doing. Therefore, they need a steer, a forceful steer in the right direction. And we haven't done that with David Moyes. We haven't. And I don't want it to happen again when the next manager comes in. I don't. Let's be ruthless. We can't go back to being little old West Ham. We can't go down to the Championship. We can't be playing fucking Rochdale on a Tuesday night at the London Stadium with 20,000 fans. We can't do that. We not in this setting, not in this stadium. It doesn't work. We need the success that we was promised, or West Ham will ultimately perish. I'm certain of it. So yeah, look. Let me know what you think anyway. What do you think is going to happen on Sunday? I'm just hoping that we don't get absolutely battered. I am. There's no way that he's going to come out and go at Arsenal. I think he'd be mad to, if I'm honest, because he can't play attacking football. David Moyes can't play attacking football. He's unable to do so. He tried that against Newcastle. So our only chance really is damage limitation now and keeping that score down. And that's the same with a lot of these games. Even Liverpool, who have not been in the best of form. And against Man United as well, we've got to try and keep the score down because it probably will come down to goal difference now. I'm almost certain of it that in the last two games at least we'll still be in that relegation battle. I don't think we're going to be out of it at all. So we're not out of it. I think there's a very good chance we can survive, but I worry about the state of this club, the state of the squad, and things deteriorating. Like I say, players organising moves for the summer, not wanting to get injured, not wanting to sort of scupper their moves away. I worry that is just going to... Well, it will affect everything. It will, because they're not going to give 100%. And who can fucking blame them? Who can blame them? They shouldn't have been left in this position by the board. That should have acted. They shouldn't have been forced to endure this for the entire season. As a fan base, we shouldn't have been forced to endure it. But then, do you know what? The players could have taken action themselves. They could have done, they could have taken the ball by the horns, played their own way anyway, irrespective of David Moyes. They haven't done it. As fans, we could have been more forceful as well. We haven't. We're fucked up. It's a massive clusterfuck. So yeah, I don't really know. I'm feeling really, really morbid about this season. I don't think we're out of the woods. I think we'll get past Ghent, and all that's going to do is give us another 2 fixtures that we don't need, because ultimately we are not going to win that competition. And do you know something? Even if we did, Bill Gardner put it in the comments of the last video that we done. He said this would be the worst team to ever win a trophy if we won it now. It would be the worst team in the worst season to ever win a trophy. We don't exactly win. If we win it, we're not winning it with style, are we? If we win this, if we play like we did against Ghent, and we just scrape through on our elbows to the final, and then we win through a goal off Danny Ings' arse after being outplayed for 90 minutes against Fiorentina, and we're still down the bottom. It doesn't. I know what he means. It would literally be the most fucking horrendous cup run. Pathetic performances, because if all you're interested in is results, then you'll love it. You might not even watch the games. You might just say you're a West Ham fan and just look for the results, and you go, well, we won 1-0. What you moaning? We won 1-0. What you moaning about? But if, like me, you enjoy watching a game of football, which is what first attracted you to West Ham, the atmosphere and everything else, and watching good football and having talisman on the pitch that kind of entertain the fans, then you will detest what you're seeing at the moment. I detest it. I can't stand it. I can't fucking stand it, And it would be, I agree with Bill, this would be the worst team to win a trophy. I can't think of a worse one. But I don't think it's going to happen anyway, because unless David Moyes gets sacked before the final, if we do get to it, if he gets sacked before the final, we could win it. But with David Moyes, with that ball and chain on the sidelines, don't think so. It's not going to happen. But anyway, look, that's it from me. A very, very thoroughly miserable ramble. Like I say, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and please drop a like on the video because it does really help us. We will be back on after the Arsenal game, and we'll be doing a phone in as well. And what we will be doing, we're going to try and limit the callers this time to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that, which we've done before. That wasn't Jonathan's fault, that call the other day. That was me. I just allowed the call to run as long as it did because we didn't have any other callers. It was the last call, and yeah, you end up labouring points and stuff like that. So it wasn't Jonathan's fault. It was probably more mine. But yeah, we'll try and keep it a little bit snappier, and we'll do 10, 15-minute calls. But make sure you call in, on that last one. We only had 2 callers. So a lot of people that were voicing their discontent, stop fucking moaning and phone in. Give us your opinion. All right? Anyway, that's it from me, and I'll speak to you again soon. Come on, you irons.